Congressman Bruce Paulcook. Great to talk to you here at Leans Lodge in Maine. We are at Camp Kotok, which explains why we're a little bit more casually dressed than usual, but we're going to talk about some tough subjects. You're on the House Financial Services Committee. What are the big issues when Congress heads back to work in the fall that the Financial Services Committee really has to tackle?
We're very concerned about the encumbering Dodd-Frank regulations. You know, when the housing market fell apart in 2008, 2009, it dragged the rest of the economy with it and really shook the foundation of the financial services industry. However, the Dodd-Frank regulations are really designed for a small number of very large institutions that have tentacles throughout our economy, but they made this law, which is 2,300 pages long and mountains of rules that go with it, and they've encompassed now, and they're engulfing community banks and credit unions and auto finance companies and what have you. So we're really trying to push back, and we're trying to reform parts of the Dodd-Frank law such that our small businesses and moms and dads that want to borrow money to buy a new home or a new car or a new truck can do so. We need to make sure we keep credit flowing throughout the economy, because if money flows through the economy, then businesses grow and you hire more workers and folks make a fatter paycheck. That's all good, but the Dodd-Frank regulations are smothering that from happening, and that's one of the reasons we have such an anemic recovery. Now, we're 6 years into an economic recovery, but it is so slow and so anemic that we have 16, 17 million folks who can't find jobs or have given up looking. So we need to make sure Dodd-Frank is designed for what it was supposed to be for, to make sure we closely oversee those institutions that are so big with so many tentacles that they might cause a problem for the financial services industry and the economy if they fail, but not for the other players.
What about this issue that Dodd-Frank hasn't addressed that has been brought up, and that is the non-bank banking? What about the shadow banking system? Every retail investor wants to know, listen, is my money safe? How do we protect that? So how is that going to be handled? Because it's something we've heard from the Fed.
One of the things I've learned in being there, 7 weeks down as a freshman down in Congress and on the Financial Services Committee, is that we almost have a fourth branch of government. It's our regulators. And so we have the SEC and Federal Reserve and the FDIC and all these other regulators before us, and we are pushing back, saying just what you're saying, is that we need to make sure asset managers, pension fund managers, mutual fund managers, investment firms that handle the $24 trillion that we have in retirement savings, make sure they don't get caught up in this net. Because if you over-regulate these investment management firms, you drive up the cost to run the portfolios, you shrink the number of product offerings, and you drive down the performance. So we need to make sure that investors are able to buy the products they want at competitive prices where performance is not hindered, such that they can retire with dignity and not have to worry about being dependent on the government.
I want to ask you about the early presidential race we're having. There are a lot of contenders in your party. Without getting specific, what should these candidates be discussing on the economy? What do you want to hear? What should be the center point of the discussion? Everyone can bring something different to the table, but listen, what's the main issue they've got to get in front of?
It is jobs. And this is one of those things, Rhonda, where we know what to do. We just need to have the business skills and the political will to make these changes.
Well, wait, what do we need to do?
We need to get government out of the way of the private sector. We need to let folks who know how to take risk and start companies and create products and sell products that the public wants and grow. And as they grow, they hire more workers. And as they grow further still, they pay those workers more money, and we have more freedom and more opportunity. We need government to get out of the way such that the private sector, the business community, the free market can take over, because that is the best way to pull people out of poverty and give them more opportunity.
So the other side of the aisle would say, well, we still have to have some regulations and some protection. So where's the middle ground? Because the Republicans and Democrats have not been seeing eye to eye lately in Congress.
Well, I agree with the folks that say we need regulations. We do. You have to have regulations, but they have to be fairly regulated. They can't be so burdensome that they kill jobs. Let me give you an example. If you look at some of the data that I've looked at from the Competitive Enterprise Institute down in Washington, which is a nonpartisan think tank, they calculate that the total cost of federal regulations on businesses is $1.9 trillion per year. Now that's just federal regulations. Now if I'm a business owner and I manufacture widgets or what have you, or offer consulting services of some sort, I'm going to pass along the cost of those regulations into the cost or the price of the goods and the services that I produce. So what happens is the cost of those regulations are passed on to the consumers. So our families are paying that $1.9 trillion cost to regulate. And so what's happening is these regulations have gone way overboard. They're smothering our businesses. They're not able to grow the way they should be and offer more opportunities for our families.
Congressman, it's been great getting your perspective in your very beautiful state. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.